Welcome to the EdjSports NFL Betting Preview for Week 5. I'm your host, Ian O'Connor, Senior Data Analyst here at EdjSports, coming to you on Wednesday afternoon this week. I'll be previewing the Week 5 Thursday night football game between the Rams and Seahawks, along with a handful of other games from the weekend and a couple moneyline value picks as always. But before I dive right into the previews, just wanted to remind everyone that you can normally catch me every Thursday throughout the NFL season, previewing the upcoming weekend's action. Also, be sure to check out our all-new site and experience at edjsports.com. That is edjsports.com. And don't forget to download our new app available for both iOS and Android. You can get pregame betting insights for every NFL game this season, as well as our fair value total and spread, and the ability to track your bets to see the probabilities of them hitting in real time. These probabilities update, so if you've got some bets where you're able to cash out and just want to follow along, you'll be able to see if those bets are more likely to win at any point during the games. So don't forget, that is EdjSports, edjsports.com. Now let's just dive right into our Thursday night football game. Coming up tomorrow night, the Rams at Seahawks. So this is the second straight week that we've got two NFC West matchups. And through 4 weeks, the West has been the best. Both the AFC and NFC West divisions have 11 combined wins. That's tied for the most of any division in the NFL. Neither division has a team below 500, I believe. So these are two very strong conferences, or strong divisions, in the west of each conference. So kicking things off with the Rams traveling all the way up the coast to Seattle. The Rams suffered their first loss last week at the hands of the Cardinals, who have looked phenomenal so far. The last remaining undefeated team, I might mention there. And then Seattle is sitting at 2-2, but they're much stronger than that 2-2 record. So this is going to be one of the best matchups of Week 5. We've got two top 3 passing offenses, two top 10 rushing offenses. The Rams are 5th in overall DVOA, 2nd in overall offense. Seattle is 11th in overall DVOA and 4th in overall offense. But these defenses have been lacking this year. Not really a surprise from Seattle compared to their defenses over the last couple of years. They haven't been terrible. They've been pretty good the last couple of years against the run, not as well against the pass, but this year they're 25th overall. The Rams are only 20th overall in defense, which is a big shock considering the talent they have on that defense. So just kind of waiting for them to turn it on, but overall, we've got two top 5 offenses against two bottom 12, bottom 13 defenses on Thursday night. Looking at the spread on this one, the market has the Rams favored by 2 points this week, where our fair value has Seattle -2. So that gives Seattle 57.7% chance to cover that +2 and over 60% chance at 60.3% to push or cover +2. And as you can probably imagine, with us having Seattle as a favorite, we also have them 55.8% chance to win versus a market implied 46.5%. So this is going to be one of our moneyline value picks this week as well. And a pretty good chance, like I said, over 60% chance to push or cover the +2 spread. And looking at the total, the market's got this one at 54.5. We don't even think that's enough. Our edge fair value is 60 points, which is the highest of the week. The most common output in this one is 65 points. So we've got a bunch of outcomes coming out in the upper 50s, low 60s, with 60 as our fair value. So that gives 67.5% chance to reach 55 points for these two teams and go over that 54.5 market total. Just want to note 64% of the bets are on the Rams, but 55% of the money is on Seattle. So a lot of people willing to put more money on Seattle, where a lot of just kind of your average bettors probably are hitting on the Rams so far. And one thing to keep an eye on, something I want to note, that in doing research on this game, the Rams have the best pass protection O-line. They've only allowed 3 sacks, where Seattle is only 24th in pass rush for their defensive line. And then on the flip side, Seattle is the 5th worst pass protection offensive line with 11 sacks allowed, and the Rams are 13th in pass rush defensive line. So not great, but they're still above average there. So this could be a game for Aaron Donald and the Rams defense to get back on track by forcing Russell Wilson under pressure and hoping he can make some mistakes for those guys like Jalen Ramsey to get some picks and make life hard for Russell Wilson. So just to recap on this one, as far as the value with the spread and the total, there is some value on the spread and even more on the over. The Seattle 60.3% chance to push or cover +2 and 67.5% chance for this game to exceed 54 points. Now moving on to another big game, maybe not as big of a game, but still we've got an NFC East battle between the Giants and Dallas. So Dallas knocked off the previously undefeated and previously #1 defense Carolina last week. The Giants came back to beat New Orleans despite only 15% post-game win expectancy. That stat from Football Outsiders. That was the lowest of the week among winning teams. And just want to think back to last week, week 5. This is when Dak Prescott fractured his ankle, the first meeting with the Giants last year. So this will be his first game back against the division rivals. Now, Dallas has really picked up with Dak Prescott back on the offense. Number 3 in overall offense, they're number 5 in passing, first in rushing. Really no surprise there. The Giants are a little bit bigger of a surprise. They're number 12 in offense, 13th in passing. Not great, but still they've been pretty good so far this year, especially Daniel Jones, who comes in at number 8 among quarterbacks. Prescott is number 3. Again, that's no surprise, but 2 top 10 quarterbacks so far. But when we look at the defenses, there's a much larger spread here. Dallas has overachieved based on what we kind of expected coming into the season. They're 10th in overall defense. Giants are only 27th, so do not be surprised. I don't think anyone really will be, but if Dallas puts up some points against this Giants defense. Additionally, Saquon Barkley finally looks to be getting back on track. Had a big game last week, especially that big catch and run that kept them in the game, then the game-winning touchdown in overtime. And then Ezekiel Elliott has had 2 big games in a row, getting back to doing what we know he can do. So moving to the spread on this one, the market has Dallas as a point or as a touchdown and a point after at -7 as favorites. We've got Dallas at -10, so a touchdown, extra point, and a field goal by our model. Now, Dallas has a 53.5% chance to cover -7 and 57.7% chance to push or cover -7. So those numbers a little close, not as strong as you would think with that 3-point difference in the spread, but we still think Dallas is more likely to cover this than for New York Giants. And looking at the total, this is another one that we've got pretty high. The market is sitting at 51.5 on this. Our edge fair value is 56, which is our second highest of the week, just behind the game we just talked about. So we're looking at about a 66.5, almost 2 out of 3 simulations. This game exceeds 51 points and hits over 51.5. Something else to note for this game, the Giants are 9th defending wide receiver ones, but only 17th versus number 2 wide receivers and 31st versus other wide receivers. So one of Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, if not both of those guys, should have a big game, as well as a guy like Cedric Wilson. And then looking at the tight end position as well, Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz. The Giants only 24th versus tight end. So I guess basically what I'm saying is expect, any of these receivers, these pass catchers, if not all of them, to have pretty big games against the Giants. Looking at the public markets, 69% of the bets, 71% of the money is on Dallas. That's really no surprise. They've looked like one of the best teams at least in the NFC, if not in the league so far. Like I said, they're pretty high up there overall in DVOA. So looking pretty good. So just to recap there, Dallas 57.7% chance to push or cover that market spread of -7 and 66.5% chance for this game between Dallas and New York to exceed 51 points on Sunday afternoon. Coming to another game this is a big, big game. So if not for Buffalo at Kansas City, Cleveland at Los Angeles Chargers would likely be the game of the week. This is our closest game of the week. They're very evenly matched. We've got some young stars in this game. Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert have both taken command of these teams. You've got Myles Garrett and Nick Bosa over there, Joey Bosa. Mix those two up all the time. On the defensive side of the ball, OBJ and Keenan Allen, 2 wide receivers who we know can go off really at any time. And one thing that we really like to see in this one, we've got 2 analytically savvy head coaches, in Kevin Stefanski and Brandon Staley. Staley has really put it all on the line the last couple of weeks, putting the ball in Justin Herbert's hands. Like you said, he wants to let Herbert make the plays and win the game, and they've done it twice, 2 weeks in a row against the Chiefs and then against the Raiders, handing them their first loss last week. So Cleveland, 4th in DVOA overall, 9th in offense, 3rd in defense, one of 2 teams other than Arizona to be top 10 in both. The Chargers are so close. They're almost the 3rd team there. They're 14th overall, but they're 11th in offense and 9th in defense. So like I said before, I don't know how many times we can state this. This is a very evenly matched game as far as these 2 teams go, the little AFC matchup out west. Cleveland has the 21st best passing offense. I don't mention Baker, good young quarterback. He hasn't been as great this year, but can always put it together. He'll be going up against the 4th best pass defense in the Chargers. So he's going to have a tough matchup. However, Cleveland does have the 2nd best rushing offense, going up against only the 25th ranked rushing defense in the Chargers. So some really good matchups going on here. So now we'll take a look at the spread. The Chargers are currently 1.5 point favorites in the market. We have this one at a pick'em. So this is pretty much 50-50, like I mentioned at the top. Cleveland does have 51.6% chance to cover that market plus 1.5. The Chargers are at about 50.6% chance to win outright by our model. That's right, 50.6. So the slimmest of margins in this game. Though the market does have LAC around 55% chance to win. So this is going to be another one of our moneyline value picks. Very slight this week, but Cleveland does have a little bit of an edge there. Moving on to the total of this game, the market it's at 46 points. Again, we like the over. There's 65.8% chance to reach 46 points. So again, almost 2/3 of our simulations see this game hitting 46 points or going beyond to take the over against the market. Now, 55% of the bets and 78% of the money are on the Chargers in this one. It's really not a surprise. They're favorites in the market. The public seems to like them as well. So we'll see. Like I said, there's still some value to be had in Cleveland overall, despite that the public betting trends as we are here on Wednesday afternoon. So just to recap that game, we've got Cleveland slight favorites to cover plus 1.5 at 51.6%. The Chargers only 50.6% chance to win compared to 55% in the market, and 65.8% chance to meet or exceed 46 points. Now moving on to the game of the week, Sunday Night Football. Kansas City got the best of Buffalo in the AFC Championship last year and in their regular season meeting. Buffalo is now number 1 in DVOA, though, coming off a historic performance against Houston. They had the best performance in DVOA history on defense, even with full opponent adjustments included. So you might say, oh, well, it was just Houston. It doesn't matter. Even accounting for opponents, they had the best defensive performance in DVOA history. Now, Kansas City bounced back from their 2-game losing streak with a massive game from Tyreek Hill, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. Handled Philadelphia pretty easily. I think they scored at the end to make it like a 12-point game, but Kansas City was in control for much of that game, at least much of the second half. Looking at the spread here, no surprise, it's close. Kansas City, the home team, the market has them minus 2.5. So looks like pretty much home field advantage. They've got them pretty even there as well. This did open at Kansas City minus 4 last week. It was minus 3 on Sunday night after these two teams played their games, and it shifted to 2.5 by noon on Monday. Our edge fair value is Kansas City minus 2, but we do give Kansas City 52% chance to cover that minus 2.5. Again, just the slimmest of margins on that. Really tough to pick a side on the spread, but if you were going to and wanted to go just by the numbers, there is a slight chance for Kansas City to cover at 52%. So Buffalo got the number 1 defense tasked with slowing Mahomes and that number 1 Kansas City offense. I say slowing because you don't really stop this offense. You just try and slow them down as best as possible. Buffalo is top 4 against all receivers and tight ends, but interestingly, they're only 17th defending passes to running backs. So don't be surprised if you see Kansas City use Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams as receivers a little bit more this week. But honestly, when you've got the number 1 quarterback, number 1 wide receiver, and number 1 tight end, you're still going to try and get those guys the ball. So expect to see Mahomes try and get the ball to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce a lot in this one. Now, on the flip side, despite scoring 35 plus in 3 straight games, Buffalo's offense is only 17th so far. But luckily for them, Kansas City is dead last in defense. That's right. They're the worst defense in the league, but the number 1 offense. So a pretty big split there. And for Buffalo, Stephon Diggs only 61st among wide receivers so far. Had a big game last week. But Kansas City's only 27th against number 1 wide receivers. So he could and probably will continue to produce after last week's big game against Houston. Moving on to the total. The market's got this one at 56, and we are definitely not sold on that many points being scored. Our edge fair value is only 46 points, so only a 22.4% chance for this to reach 56 points. Again, that Kansas City defense is not good. They're dead last, but that Buffalo defense could really slow down Kansas City and keep this one a little bit lower. 46 points still, not a super low. Our lowest of the week is around 39 points. The highest is at 60. It's not normally that high, so kind of in the middle there. We're still expecting some points to be scored, just not the 56 that the market sees. Somewhat surprisingly here, perhaps 68% of the bets are on Buffalo, but 60% of the money is on Kansas City. So the Sharps still like the defending AFC champs, putting some larger dollar amounts on Kansas City to win this one. So to recap that one, Kansas City against Buffalo over there at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas City has 52% chance to cover minus 2.5. Only 22.4% chance for this game to reach the 56-point market total. Now, every week we like to highlight at least one in moneyline value pick. We've got a few this week, and in the first few weeks of the season, we hit on Cincinnati and Pittsburgh in week 1, Dallas in week 2, just missed on Detroit in week 3. But week 4 got us back on track. This was one of those cases where we have a team actually below 50% chance to win. So it's still a low probability event. But the Jets came through as our long shot money line value with their first victory. And they did that against Tennessee and went to overtime there. We had the Jets at 44% versus a market implied 27%. So got a really good price on the Jets in that one for a game that they ended up winning. So this week we've got two, I guess we could call them regular money line value picks, both of which were mentioned earlier in the show. Seattle against the Rams. The market's sitting at only 46.5% implied win probability for Seattle. We've got Seattle at 55.8%. So over a 9-point spread there, and we've got them as favorites. And then looking at that Cleveland versus the Los Angeles Chargers game, the market's sitting at Cleveland only around 45%. We don't have them to win, but it's very close at 49.4%, so just under 50%. So there is a little bit of value to be had there. Cleveland is better in DVOA overall, so don't be surprised to see them pull out a victory there out west in SoFi Stadium. Looking at our long shot money value, I said last week was the Jets that came through. We've got two this week. First one is Houston, sitting at only 21% chance to win against New England in the market. We've got them at only 34%, still only 1 out of 3 times, but that's a 13% difference between us and the market. So looking at the numbers a little bit deeper, New England 23rd in offense, 11th in defense, so been much better stopping opposing teams. But Houston, while they're only 30th in offense, they're 17th and just ever so slightly above average in defense. So they could be able to keep this one close. Don't be surprised this one comes down to the wire and Houston is able to steal a victory late at 34% over the market's 21%. And then, sorry to beat up on Tennessee again, but looking at Jacksonville versus Tennessee, we've got Jacksonville not favorite to win, but a little bit more value than the market is giving them. So as I mentioned, Tennessee gave the Jets their first win in overtime last week, though the Titans were missing both A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, their top 2 receivers. But this week, we've got Jacksonville at 45% chance compared to 37% in the market. Now, it's been pretty tumultuous time for Urban Meyer down there in Jacksonville, especially after that Thursday night game in Cincinnati when he chose to hang back in Ohio and had some questionable decisions and things popping up on the internet. But Trevor Lawrence could pull off his first win after nearly beating Cincinnati in that game last Thursday. So this one is more so about Tennessee. Man, they're perhaps the most disappointing team of the season so far at only 2-2. I think looking at DVOA, they're 26th or 27th. There's only the teams below them are 4 1-3 teams and 2 winless teams. So, Jacksonville is one of them, but we give the Jaguars about 8% greater chance to come out on top against the Titans in Week 5. So that will wrap up our Week 5 betting preview. Just a quick recap for all of those of you keeping track at home with Thursday Night Football. We've got Seattle 60.3% chance to push or cover +2, and that game has 67.5% chance to exceed 54 points. Looking at the Giants against Dallas, Dallas has 57.7% chance to push or cover -7, and that game has 66.5% chance to exceed 51 points. Coming back to Cleveland and the Chargers, Cleveland are slight favorites to cover +1.5 at 51.6%, very, very slim there. And 65.8% chance for that game to meet or exceed 46 points. And then the Sunday night game between Buffalo and Kansas City. Kansas City, again, very slim, 52.0, right on the dot, 52% chance to cover -2.5. And that game has only 22.4% chance to reach 56 points. So of the 4 games we highlighted, that one is the only one where we like the under, and it's pretty strong there, just under 23% chance to go over. Those money line values were Seattle, 55.8% chance to win versus a market implied 46.5. Chargers, only 50.6% chance to win versus a market implied 55.5. So a little bit of value there in Cleveland to come out on top. And our long shots were Houston, 34% chance to beat New England versus a market implied 21%. And Jacksonville, 45% chance to get their first win versus Tennessee against a market implied 37%. So that'll do it for this week's betting preview. Be sure to check out all of our pregame betting insights for Week 5 and beyond on EdjSports.com. That's EdjSports.com. And again, don't forget to download the new EdjSports app available for both iOS and Android for all pregame betting insights. And don't forget to come back Monday to hear our weekend recap and Monday Night Football betting preview. That is Indianapolis visiting Baltimore. Thanks for listening and enjoy the Week 5 action.